We all seem to have had a breath of fresh air following the extension of the deadline for the collection and deposit of all Naira notes to banks. Interestingly, the date for collection of permanent voters card was also extended to allow more Nigerians get the PVC. While hoping that all of you will go out to get it, it appears the situation is getting more chaotic by the day. Hello and welcome to Daily Politics on Trust TV. I am Hamza Idris. On Tidbits tonight, the federal government has been urged to investigate the killings of about 40 herders in an airstrike believed to have been carried out by the military at Rukubi village in Doma local government area of Nasarawa state last week. The Miete Allah Cattle Breeders Association of Nigeria, MACBAN, among many other organizations, on Sunday demanded an explanation for the killings, which it described as intentional. MACBAN, in a statement, condemned the silence of the federal government and the military on the incident. And elsewhere, the Supreme Council for Sharia in Nigeria warns that political violence may affect the 2023 elections and suggest holding all elections on the same day to prevent such violence. The council also condemned the killings in the country and opposed the one-week extension for swapping all Naira notes, saying 5 months will be ideal for rural dwellers without access to banks. And finally, President Muhammadu Buhari has unveiled the Dala Inland Dry Port in Dala local government area of Kano State today. Recall that the governor of Kano State, Abdullahi Ganduje, had initially advised the president to halt his visit to the northwestern state, but later led a delegation of critical stakeholders from the state to meet President Buhari in his country home in Daura, Katsina State on Sunday, after which he revealed the change of position. Tonight on the program, we are joined by the National Director of Publicity and Advocacy of the Northern Elders Forum, Dr. Hakeem Baba Ahmed. He joins us as we discuss recent issues in the polity as well as the trajectory which he foresees the North taking in the forthcoming election. Welcome to the program, Doctor.
Thank you very much, and thank you for inviting me.
Good. We'll go on a short break, and when we return, the conversation commences. Don't go away. Yes, Doctor, we're happy having you, and our condolences over what happened. And as you can see, that was our first tidbit, the killings in Doma. What is your take on this?
Very sad and very worrisome. I'm sad because so many lives have been lost. They were not doing anything. These were Fulani people, not the type, not the ones in the bush, not the kidnappers, not the bandits. These are honest people earning a living, whose cattle had been detained in Benue. They paid huge amount of money. This is all
29 million.
Yes, all this is uncontested. They paid a huge amount of money to retrieve their cattle, many of which were virtually dead. Brought them out, and in the process of offloading them, they were bombed, whether it's by an Air Force plane or by this thing that they send.
Drone.
A drone. It doesn't matter. And they were killed. Like that. 40 people. The fact that they are Fulani is secondary. And where are the voices being raised at this? What is the government saying? This is one of the sad effects about profiling and stereotyping.
Okay, so you think it's a product of profiling?
Well, look, well, certainly the state, Nigerian state and Nigerian communities have profiled the Fulani. He's fair game. So long as you kill a Fulani man, it doesn't matter. And every time there's a killing somewhere else, people think it's Fulani who are killing. And the Fulani is now an endangered species. How do you kill 40 people in one Air Force operation just like that? They are not involved in any criminal activity. They are standing there out in the open. A vehicle was there. They were offloading their cattle, and you bomb them to death. And not a word has come from the federal government.
Yeah.
The Air Force wouldn't comment. The governor of Benue State is trying to distance himself from this. Governor of Nasarawa State has said something. For goodness sake, basically what we appear to be saying is that if it's a Fulani man that is killed, there's no problem. There's no problem. It's only Fulani.
Have we ever witnessed this in the history of Nigeria?
Well,
because before it was actually non-state actors and all that. But now, here we are, Air Force, using equipment of attack that is meant to actually attack an adversary, but now using it on citizens.
The truth about it is that I think in the last 3, 4, 5 years, life has become absolutely valueless in this country. You can take lives, very little consequences. Think of all the killings going on in the north, in the southeast. How many people have you heard being prosecuted? From the insurgents that have been active in Borno all these years, to the bandits, the kidnappers, to IPOB and ESN, how many people have been prosecuted? How many? Think about it. There are no consequences for killing. And certainly there are no consequences for killing Fulani.
What is baffling about the Rokubi incident was that these people, cattle, were actually, seized by state government agents. And they kept them somewhere. They said, okay, come and pay so amount. They said 29 million or thereabout. And they went, they paid. They said, okay, you will not take them by road. You can't go by foot.
In Benue State, you cannot put cattle on the ground. They can't walk. You can't put them on soil. You have to put them on a vehicle. That is the law they enacted. They don't want to see cattle being shepherded.
But is this federalism? Is this how we define federalism, where some states will now say, okay, they are actually a country within a country, that there are certain citizens that can live there, others cannot live for certain reasons?
I think Autumn's Benue is the worst advertisement for state police. To be honest with you, there are very strong cases for decentralizing issues of security.
Yeah.
One of the end results of these reforms, it will be perhaps some kind of quasi-police or police run by states. But when you look at what has been happening in Benue State, and then other states that have done copycat legislations, you really have to start wondering. Governors are very powerful people.
Yes.
We all tend to think, oh, it's federal government. The governors are very powerful people. And Autumn is the worst advertisement for state authority of any type.
He's the
Under
worst.
him, you can't see, if you have to see cattle, it has to be on a vehicle. A Fulani man is endangered and threatened wherever he is. That he has a special outfit that is just set up to monitor and people and deal with cattle herders. The cattle herder has become synonymous with victimization, killings, and everything. And you've just simply demonized the whole group of people. And this is in their own country. And they say, no, it's our state. Now, so you ask a very important question. Where do you draw the line between the rights of a citizen in his own country? Do they change if you move from one state to another one? This is what is happening about Fulani. This is the worst case to be made for devolution of power for security. And when people stand up now, like one of the traditional rulers stood up during the dialogue, the Daily Trust dialogue, and he made, this is somebody we've always respected, even before he became a traditional ruler, because he was really an outstanding journalist.
Sarkin Karshi.
Yes, Sarkin Karshi. And he made an excellent case. And the truth about it is that a lot of people are looking very critically at this particular segment of what we want to do. You certainly must devolve power and authority and resources from the center, Abuja, to states, federating units. But maybe we need to be very careful, and we need to raise our levels of sensitivity. Governors are very powerful people. They can do horrible things. They can do good things.
Yeah.
If they have an outfit that is well disciplined, organized, and operates within the ambit of the rule of law. But it's very easy also to move to the other extreme. This is just a bunch of people, trained, armed, and operating as just simply an outfit at the beck and call of the governor. Now, anybody can be an enemy if the governor says you're an enemy. And anybody can be a friend if you say so.
Well, the question now is, at what level did the military actually become complicit of such? Because ordinarily they should issue a statement that, okay, it was maybe accidental operation or they were misled, but no word from them on this part. And on the other side, the president is also quiet. Is he afraid to say that he is actually standing up for citizens or standing up for the Fulani, his own people?
I can't speak for President Buhari. I think that this kind of issue shouldn't even be mentioned by the Air Force or the military. I think the president ought to be the one to speak.
Okay.
And if he doesn't speak, he's actually speaking in volumes. His silence says a lot. Let me tell you something. I'm sure you know this. Up to about 2015, President Buhari was the President General of Fulani in West Africa.
Fulani in West Africa?
Yeah.
President General?
From Senegal to Central African Republic. Every Fulani or every pastoralist was under his kind of an informal authority. He ceased to occupy that position when he became president, and he asked that somebody else should take over. He is Fulani in addition. And then he is president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria with duties and responsibilities to protect all Nigerians equally. Equally. You cannot just simply retreat and say, I'm not going to say anything.
Yeah.
Not even Garba Shehu, not Femi. You must be the one to say something has happened, horrible thing has happened in Nasarawa or Benue. I order that an investigation takes place. You investigate. Insist that the Air Force people investigate and bring you a report. And the nation should hear it. A life is a life, whether it belongs to a Fulani or anybody else.
But it appears even the media is complicit in this.
Well, I think
the conspiracy of silence is glaring.
This is why I was saying the Fulani has become fair game. It's like the nation has reached a point where it says, if this Fulani who is on the receiving end of violence, it's fine, it's fine. It's fine. If on the other hand, you hear 2 or 3 people attacked in a village in the southeast or some part, they will say,
in Benue State, yeah.
They will say herders. And even if they don't know the people, they will say herders. And as soon as you hear herders, they think Fulani. More than 60% of the cattle in the south of this country, maybe 70, is owned by people of the south. Owned.
Wow.
They keep them. They buy cattle, they rear them, they sell them. And they are not owned by Fulani people. Some of them employ Fulani people to...
Yes, because they are used to tendering.
Yes, to herd them. So, but the Fulani has become something that is indispensable. And what is dangerous about it is not only that you are sacrificing a huge population of people who you have profiled them, you have stereotyped them, you have condemned them, but their power to fight back is still potent. The fact that the Fulani is in a mess, is in disarray, a large number of them are criminals and killers, they are in bushes, doesn't mean that the Fulani can't fight back.
They can fight back.
And Nigerians.
But why are they gullible? Because some people are saying it's like the Fulani is actually undermining itself. I'm referring to Fulani as a clan. Yeah.
It is true. And this is not new. This is not new. Many efforts have been made since the 50s and the 60s to integrate the Fulani. The Fulani, people think the Fulani is just some idiotic ethnic group that just moves around with the cattle. The Fulani is very, very versatile. He knows these cows that you see are assets, huge assets. When you see a Fulani man barely clad, hungry and thirsty, just looking for something his cattle will eat, people think he's stupid. He's not. He's actually looking after a huge asset. 20 cattle, heads of cattle.
Millions of naira there.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. He knows their value. And he knows he will do everything legal and now illegal to get them water, to get them feed. And from the 60s to date, a large amount of effort has been put into trying to integrate them so that at least...
The various groups, you have Makban, you have Kautal Hore.
Yes, and to use their numbers and their assets as a political capital, organize them, or get them to organize themselves. But they've been divided, they've been exploited, they've been reduced to just simply people who around election times will vote for someone.
But who divided them? Is it the politicians? They don't want them to come together?
I think part of the problem, really, to be honest, is that unfortunately they preferred this apparently difficult life of herding cattle around to accepting an alternative. What is this alternative? A sedentary life, access to Western education and skills and other things, and being integrated in communities that are not Fulani. It's a very complex issue, but somewhere along the line, the criminalization of many of them compounded the problem. So people didn't want to hear anything about the Fulani anymore.
Yeah.
And his strength is in the cattle that he rears. And if other people begin to rear or keep herd, then the Fulani loses everything. It doesn't have the cattle.
Yeah.
It doesn't have the political clout. He is seen as a criminal and he's a bandit, he's a kidnapper, he's a criminal. He has no education, no skills, no organization, no political muscle. Yes, and yet there are millions and millions and millions of Fulani around.
Who can make a difference.
Yes,
of course,
they can make a difference,
together.
and many times a lot of them live only to revenge things.
Sad. Finally, on this matter specifically, who will talk to people like Autumn? Because we remain on this story, especially for our TV and our newspaper. Every day we be reporting this. And the Fulanis, they have been complaining that for each cattle, they are taxed 50,000 when they seize it. And the livestock guards, as they call them in Benue, they push towards the edge, the border between Nasarawa, where they don't have this law, and then they can even encroach, draw the cat, and now drag these people to the capital city to go and pay, and now look at the result of what is happening. So who will talk to chief executives like
I'm
Autumn?
not sure there's anybody who can talk to Autumn.
Is it that he is so powerful by virtue of the constitutional
today
provision?
or yesterday? No. He knows what he's doing. He knows what he's doing. And apparently he enjoys some local support. People think he is the guardian and the savior of a lot of Benue communities. But he's going to be out of office in the next few months. And there will be Benue State. There will be those communities. There will be one form or the other. Fulani or cattle herders. But the question you ask, who will talk to Autumn? I don't think anybody will talk to Autumn.
Wow.
So he will run his time out. He thinks he's a hero. But the damage he has caused in terms of inter-community relations, the damage he has done to this idea of managing a problem and seeing how it can be solved. Nobody is going to excuse some of the excesses of the Fulani. And in the north, we have lived with these things for a long time. People know sometimes when the Fulani come, they are bad news. I mean, the herder who wants to go into your farm and eat your... we've lived with this. The rest of the country also knows it. What you're seeing is the collapse of hundreds of years of a mechanism that resolved conflict between herders and farmers and pastoralists and communities. We just simply abandoned that old system, where the herder knows that there are boundaries he can't cross, and if he crosses them, there's a penalty to pay. And a state that will protect the herder also from unfair treatment. that balance was lost. You had a leadership that simply abandoned it. I read an interesting interview 2 days ago where Autumn was saying that in the last 4 years he hadn't seen Buhari.
Yeah.
And that people had gotten between them, and he's done a lot in Benue, and people... What is interesting about it is, why would Buhari ignore Autumn for 4 years? In his place, another leader will go out of his way and say, I want Governor Benue, please let's talk. Not just ignore him.
Okay.
Are you sure what you're doing is the right thing?
Okay.
Isn't there an option? Shouldn't we talk? Shouldn't he look for the kind of people who would listen to him?
Instead of...
Yes, instead of simply treating him as if he doesn't exist, and instead of seeing him as a nuisance, then he becomes an even bigger problem.
Yeah, because this is
But
what
that's
people
exactly
are saying.
what appears to have happened. He thinks nothing will touch him. His people support him. He has made Benue a no-go area for Fulani. And everybody is clapping. But for goodness sake, 8 years is nothing in the life of a nation. He's going to run his term, and we haven't solved this problem. What just happened on the border is real. And it can't continue to happen. It cannot continue to happen, because Fulani have shown over and over again that they can revenge some of these things, sometimes in a very crude way. Nobody encourages this. We're not happy about this. But the truth about it is that you slap them, they slap back.
And there is limit to indiscretion.
This tit for tat has to stop. So what was, for me, when I was reading that long interview that Autumn gave, where he was lamenting that he hadn't seen Buhari, I didn't think that Autumn deserved sympathy. I just felt that what President Buhari did in these 4 years, to be honest with you, was irresponsible. You don't allow a governor to do the things that Autumn did.
Especially the one on overdrive.
Yes, and the biggest punishment you give him is I won't see him. I won't have anything to do with it.
So he must have committed a big act.
You throw the book at him if he's doing the wrong thing, or you solve the problem politically.
Yeah, thank you very much on this. I want your take on the position of the Supreme Council of Sharia in Nigeria. That it's better to conduct elections same day, presidential, National Assembly, governorship, and state assemblies, because they foresee violence after the presidential election.
You know, let me admit that I have been familiar with the position of the Supreme Council for Sharia in Nigeria for a long time. They have agonized over this. They have gone everywhere. Everybody they have spoken to.
So it's true from the statement,
that the potential for damage, if you have this staggered election, is huge. Everybody has agreed, and I'm talking about people in authority, people.
Because they said they spoke to security agents.
They did. In fairness to them, even when I was secretary of INEC, even during my days. Even during my days, this same argument had come up. I'm sure even in 1999, before I went to INEC, they debated this. There are, in fairness, the law says INEC shall appoint dates of election. The logistics of organizing one day election for all offices is huge. It's huge and almost near impossible. Now, you have 90 million people, voters, on the register, 90-something million. If 60 million vote, 60, that's going to be a huge logistical challenge. Huge. Now, if everybody has to vote in one day, that means you give, when you go to register, they clear you, they reverse you, they say, okay, yes, you are Hamza, yes, you can vote.
The face is clear,
Yes. And they give you four ballots. Now, the time it takes you to vote is longer. The complexity of the process is longer. Is longer. If anything goes wrong in that polling station or that area,
it affects everything.
It affects everything. Everything goes. Everything goes. And if you want to be fair to INEC, INEC after INEC after INEC have not done this. You have to ask yourself, what is it about this one-day election that makes INEC so resistant? If you want to be fair to them, you must say they must have some grounds. And they admit they had met everybody who said, well, even we told INEC. And I know I spoke to this current INEC extensively on this issue. First, by the time, now that we're beginning to see the threat of violence more than any other time, this election potentially is more threatened by violence than any other one. Because look at it on the ground. The country is already severely under stress from violence. Now, there are issues which can feed this violence and make it worse. There are people who say, if our own candidate, or for any reason, first, there are areas where we may not even be able to conduct the election.
If we're working on that, yeah.
Right. Then there are people who would say, okay, let's see. If my candidate, the presidential election goes first, the presidential election and National Assembly election.
Yes.
And then you wait for 2 weeks to have the state governors, gubernatorial assembly. Yeah. Now, if you have huge parts of the country saying our candidate was either rigged out or didn't win, or we're not going to allow the second election to hold, what happens?
Oh my God, constitutional
and that
crisis.
that possibility must be factored into the concerns with it. And I think, in fairness to the council, this is what they're worried about. What happens if there is no election on this subsequent one?
Yeah.
What happens if we have a runoff? And you have to have a runoff between the first and the second election.
Meaning you have to extend maybe the other one.
Well, yes, but whatever. If you have a runoff, all these poisonous fault lines will be thrown into the fray. So there are genuine grounds for it. Unfortunately, INEC has the sole legal power to appoint the date, and they had done so a long time ago. Now the problem, and if INEC, even 3-4 months ago, if INEC sat down and said, okay, we're going to devise a system where all the elections take place in one day.
Yes.
Somebody's going to say, you are changing the rules, and you must be doing this thing to favor someone. If INEC says, no, it's because of security, we'd rather have an election where 80 or 90% of the polling units have an election, we can count it, than have one in which you have an election on the 25th of February,
yes,
and then you have chaos thereafter. So in a politicized environment, changing the rules like this becomes more difficult. Two, the logistics of it have already been sorted out. So it's very, very difficult. What I think the real value of the call by the Supreme Council for Sharia in Nigeria is not so much in whether we change it to one-day election, is to wake the nation up to the fact that security has now become a major factor in terms of what we contemplate will happen or can happen, and prepare for it. And the question really is, are we preparing?
Yeah, are we preparing? And I think I will stop you here so that when we come back from the break, I will ask this question whether we are even prepared. Viewers, we will take a break now, and when we return, the conversation continues. Don't go away.
This is Trust TV, documenting the Nigerian story.
Haruna, Bisi, Akman, Unduka, how will I want to do on election day?
On election day, I go take my PVC. When I reach where I vote to, I broom I go put my hand for Tinubu. On election day, I go take my PVC. When I reach where I vote to, I broom I go put my hand for Tinubu.
People of Nigeria, make we all come out on election day and vote Asiwaju Bola Tinubu as president. Make Nigeria for better. Make you put your hand for APC, the party where show broom. Not forget now broom you go put your hand in. Bam!
On election day, I go take my PVC. When I reach where I vote to, I broom I go put my hand for Tinubu.
Welcome back. If you are just joining us, this is Daily Politics on Trust TV. Do well to follow the conversation across our social platforms on Facebook, Twitter, and follow us live on YouTube. I'm still with Dr. Hakim Baba Ahmed, the spokesperson of Northern Elders Forum. Thank you once again for coming to the program.
Thank you.
Before we went on break, you said if the election holds. And I want to link this with what happened when you attended the 20th Daily Trust Dialogue, because what we picked from your speech was that the president must ensure that elections hold and there is nothing like interim government. Why do you have this feeling that maybe something is going all wrong somewhere that will necessitate interim government?
Well, we didn't specifically mention issues like that. What we did, first we released a statement a few days before the dialogue itself,
Okay.
to say that we're very concerned. We're getting murmurs and rumors, and we're hearing whispers from people that are saying that are contemplating some kind of arrangement that could emerge in the event that the elections are affected
Postpone or something.
on a scale where they become not acceptable by violence. And what happens? Is there something that is within the Constitution that can be done? Is this something that has to be done outside the Constitution? And this scenario is being informed by the context in which we are. We are preparing for this election as if it is just going to happen because it's an election. There could be a lot of interests that are not, a lot of powerful people or groups that are not interested in this election that could scuttle it. Well, if all they do is to keep huge numbers of the population away from voting, they have had an impact. And people think the people who, for instance, stay in 5 states for the last 2-3 years, everybody stay at home.
Yes.
On Mondays. And everybody stays at home. And they do it all Monday after Monday after Monday, to a point where it has now become literally they have it. In a country run by, on the basis of the rule of law, by a constitutional authority that says you cannot be kept at home by some non-state actor, and they've gotten away with it. So if those guys, whatever they depend on, decide that, okay, we will not have an election here.
And the Constitution is clear on how to produce presidents,
of course,
how to produce a governor and all that.
So take many parts of the Northwest, Kaduna, Katsina, Zamfara, Kebbi, Niger State, huge numbers of communities are coming to terms with what the bandits
the laws
decide.
now.
Yes. If you go to your farm and you harvest, you have to negotiate with them whether you can go to the farm and cultivate. You can go and harvest, and you have to pay money to be able to do that. This is the daily reality for hundreds of thousands or millions of our people. They've come to terms with it. They cannot move out unless there is some understanding with bandits and kidnappers, criminals. What if those people decide that they will become a nuisance around election time? In the Northeast too, there are huge numbers of communities that are dependent on the whims and caprices. Governments downplay some of these things. We too, we downplay it, we don't want to say it. But an election is such a sensitive thing that you cannot just sweep these things under the carpet. You have to deal with them. And we are not seeing the government dealing with them at all. It's like business as usual. They think you just roll out everything. INEC cannot roll out. First, INEC personnel, there are no-go areas for INEC personnel in many areas in this country. You can't just go out to a polling unit, set up shop, and say, okay, come and vote.
It's not possible,
You can't send material, sensitive or non-sensitive material. It can be destroyed. The highways are not yours. Village roads are not yours. Some communities are already had been taken over by some of these people. How are you going to do this? And if violence at a scale that will seriously affect the elections occurs, what happens? And are there people who like to encourage this kind of thing to happen? And that's why we made our release and said, don't even dare.
Okay.
In case there are people who think that they will benefit from an inconclusive election or an election that is botched by violence, sabotaged, subverted, and we said, don't even try it. Because the North and Nigerians will not accept any arrangement, any leadership, unless it is produced through a credible election. Under any circumstance, we don't want to hear anything about some stopgap measure, some kind of contraption.
Elections must hold.
Yes, elections must hold, and they must be credible elections in which as many of us as it is possible vote. And these elections must reflect the popular will of the people.
Good, popular will of the people. Someone who spoke closely to what you said was Senator Shehu Sani, who said candidates, the electorate, especially in this part of the country, they don't even know who to go for.
Yeah, well.
So you as leaders of Northerners, who are you asking the people to go for in this conflagration, if you look at it?
We're asking the Northerners, we're still looking at all the candidates. But we know we have a criteria for who we think will represent the best interests of the people. First, I think Senator Shehu Sani's comment needs to be understood. 95% of the people in the North have not seen a presidential candidate or even a gubernatorial candidate, because these people will go to state capitals.
Yes, and from there to Chatham House.
Yes, and then Chatham House. They rent a stadium, appear for 2 hours, dance to the music, get rented crowd to say, yeah, 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 and then they go. That's not campaigning. I'm willing to bet that not 1% of the people, 1% of Nigerians have not read the manifesto of the entire leading candidates in this country.
Oh my God. Is it because they don't trust them, or what?
First, I'm not sure that they are that accessible. Two, I think they printed them more to impress either the media or people who ask, where is your
manifesto?
Yes. 1% of Nigerians have not read the manifestos of these parties. And Trust TV made an attempt to get a panel of 4 very well-informed people to say, okay, see the manifestos,
yes,
read them, and let's come and do an openly. Tell us what you think about it. What is interesting was at that panel at the Daily Trust Dialogue on the manifestos of the candidates, on the manifestos, not on the candidates.
And they did a wonderful job, because that was what led the paper the next day, because the general consensus was that, of course, they have mouth-watering offers, but the blueprint to actualize those proposals are not.
Yeah, have you noticed that Daily Trust didn't dare to venture and say, assess the candidates? They could have done that. Who's assessing these candidates?
I want you to assess them here now.
Look, there are 18 people.
Yes, but we have
18
front runners.
18 Nigerians.
Of course, some people are even cautioning us to actually concentrate on those that we feel they will make a difference or they will make an impact in the election.
If you take
instead of confusing Nigerians with all the 18 candidates, that some will not even vote for themselves.
We know. There are about 4 or 5 people.
Yes.
One of whom, by the grace of God, will become president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. The real thing to do, I went to that dialogue, and I was thinking to myself, the Trust took the easier route by saying, assess their manifesto. And they did. The panel did a good job.
Yeah, of course.
They said, oh, the manifestos are excellent. And they are. I have all of them.
Okay.
I have 5, I think I have 9 of the manifestos of these parties. And I've read them cover to cover.
But the magic wand to
no,
produce
that's
something
not
out
really
of
the
it.
issue. What is at stake is not the manifesto. And what is remarkable about them is that if you compare them, 90% of them look all similar. I will do this, and you find out what they are going to do about insecurity is more or less the same across. And the panel said so. The panel said so. What is not, it's not the manifesto. It's the quality of the people who implement these manifestos and the how of it. We have people who are saying our problem on insecurity, on the economy, we have a problem with insecurity. Everybody knows that.
So what should our people look for?
They should look for a president who has the most promise to offer leadership which is sensitive to how seriously in trouble we are. Because this country is in very, very serious trouble. This election, Hamza, is make or break.
Oh my God.
For this country. I'm really serious about it. It really is make or break.
And Nigerians should take it
election.
seriously.
Let's assume we go over the elections peacefully. Maybe some pockets of violence and uprisings and resistance. But let's assume and pray to Allah that we can have a peaceful election and a credible election and a peaceful transition. The two things are not necessarily the same thing. We have to have a credible election. Then we should have a peaceful transition. That means the results are accepted, losers either choose to go to court or give up.
Yeah, you said
and
that.
we don't have massive crises that follows. That's a peaceful transition to a new administration. The real question is, do we have somebody who really understands what he has to do from the 30th of May this year? How do you address the fallouts of the elections? What can you do with a country whose economy is on its knees and is swamped by its insecurity, a lot of angry people, plus people who are angry as a result of the outcome of the elections? It's your duty to deal with it.
And I'm tempted, when you spoke about economy, because we are running short of time, I'm tempted to ask your take on this Naira thing, because the president was in Katsina last week. It wasn't really a rousy visit. Of course, he commissioned what he wanted, and because of heavy deployment of security, youths and even adults could not vent their anger. But when he left, they went, berserk and, burned tires, hauled stones and all that. The same thing today in Kano. Why is this thing happening to President Buhari?
I think because he has allowed the country to degenerate to a point where young people feel the only way they will get noticed is by throwing stones at the president or some governors or some politicians. That's the only way they get noticed. That's the only way they will be relevant. It's the only way they can express anger. That's what the country has become. Children throwing stones at a president.
Even in absentia, because they deploy heavy security, but once
in
they
his
have
own
the
home state. In Kano, the governor 2 days ago said, I'm advising the president not to come to Kano because these issues about the anger of the people over the currency swap, the cost of living, the fuel.
Why do you think he insisted on going?
Who?
The president, because we know that.
I think it would have been infinitely worse if Ganduja's faux pas, because it was a faux pas. If it wasn't the right thing for the president to go to Kano, because people would throw stones at him and say, Bama, Bama, Soba, whatever, it shouldn't have been Ganduja's call to say so. The president could have found another reason to postpone that trip.
Okay.
It was wrong, yes, because the way Ganduja did it, it was like saying, if you come here, Mr. President, now, they will stone you and they will cause a problem for me and for you. It should have been the president's move to say, postpone it. Somebody somehow would have said, Mr. President, including Ganduja himself quietly, Mr. President, perhaps Monday is not the right day to go. There will be a problem. Now, after he said, Mr. President should not come, if he comes, there will be a problem with all this exchange of money, then I think somebody might have drawn his attention
to the implication of that.
Yes, that, look, do you know what you are doing? You are saying in public,
you have felt
that the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria cannot come to Kano because people will be angry with him, and they may take steps that shows, or they may take action that is not particularly favorable to the president.
And some are saying Ganduja actually spoke the minds of Tinubu, who vented his anger last week, saying some people want to sabotage my,
I think the problem for APC is exactly the problem that we raised in that Arewa Joint committee in Kaduna. If you remember, I asked Tinubu, how are you going to handle this legacy of the president?
Yes.
Because you are going to ask people to vote for APC. No matter what you do, you're going to have a problem explaining to people that you are a continuation of the Buhari administration.
Yes.
Now, so APC has this big challenge. How far should it move away from the president, and how close should it get to the president?
Wow.
And
To
finally, I
navigate
think
the-
Tinubu last week maybe took stock of all these unpopular anti-people policies or developments, anti-people developments arising from either an administration that doesn't care, or the level of incompetence is so intense that people are, the cost of living, the fuel shortage, the Naira exchange at all this time, and what appears to be an insensitive government. And Tinubu said, I know what this is. This is a ploy to get me unelected.
Yes.
Because people will get angry and they will not vote for me because I'm APC.
Yes.
And he said, somebody is planning all these things. Later, of course, he's made,
Yeah, they
he
tried
made
to-
attempts
yes.
to say that is not what I meant. But we all know this thing. Whichever way you spin it, the APC, Tinubu's legacy is going to be, Tinubu's prospects are going to be affected by the records of President Buhari.
Okay, by the record of the President Buhari. Now I want to ask this question, which should be the last, Doctor. Who gets the bulk of the votes from the North, going by what we have now, going by our discussion?
I honestly don't know. I think there are 4 people, all of whom are appealing for the votes. The North is open. The North is, without meaning it in blood terms, the North is the battlefield. Huge numbers of votes are available to either Atiku, Tinubu, Obi, or Kwankwaso.
Yeah.
Now, only one can get it.
Only
and
one,
I think
yes.
that the one that gets it will be the one who shows the greatest commitment to fixing the problems of the North, insecurity. I think that, unfortunately, also some other parts of the country are campaigning in a manner that will pitch the people of the North in some kind of direction. If you play the ethnic ticket,
Yes.
if you play the ethnic sentiment and religious sentiment, what you do is that you awaken an ethnic and religious sentiment.
Which will not go well for everyone.
Yes, so this tendency to annoy somebody or to endorse somebody is one of us, is very dangerous to other candidates. And it's more, Atiku benefits from these things because Northerners could also adopt him and say, okay, since everybody is adopting his own,
yes.
he's going to be there. So other presidential candidates should be sensitive to this. Because like I said, the North is, up to this moment I'm talking to you, and I'm being honest with you, the North is an open and level playing field.
Should we expect something, a categorical statement from your group ahead of the election? We're in the election month.
Well, I don't know about categorical statements. There are many ways in which we can indicate who we think and advise people over the candidate. We don't need to make categorical statements.
Yeah.
But there are many ways in which we can talk to people. People are looking up to us, waiting to hear
Yes.
who we think is the best candidate. And we're looking at them. Believe me, we're taking this responsibility very, very seriously. Right. We will eventually advise Northerners. They are not by any means obliged to respect us. We respect their rights to choose who they want, irrespective of what we say.
Yeah.
But to the degree that people think that we should say,
Yes.
this is the direction to go, we will do so. But before we do that, we want to be absolutely certain we don't repeat 2015. In 2015, we all lined up from behind President Buhari. And look where we are. We want to avoid that. Just being Northern is not good enough. Coming in and saying, I'll do this, we are looking very, very critically. The choice is limited to 4 or 5 people.
Yeah.
But we will make a choice, and we will talk to people in a way that gives them some idea about the basis of our advice.
You will make a choice.
Yes.
We have to stop here. Thank you very much,
Thank you.
Dr. Hakim Baba Ahmed, for coming to the program and for your informed perspective on these salient issues.
Thank you very much.
Yes, and viewers, that's a wrap on today's program. Do well to collect your permanent voter's card and make a commitment to vote in the forthcoming election to guarantee a better future for all of us. Thanks for watching, and do join us again. I'm Hamza Idris.